Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you're having an incredible day, and may peace be upon you. Welcome to the show. It Takes Courage. With me, your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. And today I have a wonderful guest who is going to be sharing with you some tips to be reversing obesity. So let's welcome our guest. Here she is. Penny Foskaris, who is a nutritionist expert here joining us from Orange County. Hi, Penny. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Jamil. So good to be here. Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you.
So, Penny, we have an important topic to discuss today, a topic that is, we can see the cases of it rising every single year, which is obesity. So, let's get straight to the point and tell us what are some daily actionable steps, something simple, something practical but effective that people can do to start to reverse obesity.
Sure, thank you. And I would say that we'll start with even, we're looking at being overweight and obesity. And a lot of people don't realize that they don't eat enough food, number one. So there's cases of too much food and there's cases of not enough food. So we need to actually get our body composition done so we know our numbers and then knowing our macronutrients. So the first thing we can do is, first of all, we need to sleep, number one. And a lot of times people don't realize that when they're not sleeping, it could be because they didn't eat enough food during the day and their body can't repair. So I'm going to grab here my assistant, Bob. This is Bob, and he's showing all of his organs here. And we have to feed our organs. And so even when we're eating food, we have to think about what are we eating? We need to, we need carbohydrates. They're not bad. So you see all these different diets, right? We're like, what the heck? What do we do? But we think of balance. We need carbohydrates. We need some protein. We need some healthy fats, right? Not all fats are good for us. We grab the candy bar, it's got fats in it. It's really not the best. But we can have it once in a while if we pair it up with protein. So, but we look at eating food like fresh fruits and vegetables and filling our plate with a lot of those along with the protein and the fats and we limit ourselves. Like I have a lot of people come in the office and they're like wanting to they think they got to cut everything out and then they're not happy and they're like, no. I go, you get to tell me what you like and let's modify that. So number one is looking at your food, making sure that we're getting a balanced diet and getting a body composition done first is number one with any type of diet that you're eating or non-diet, but knowing your numbers is number one. And then we need to get exercise for our heart. We have to look at, when we don't put stress on our heart, when we're in a stressful situation, our heart can't handle it. Also, when we eat protein, it also is good for our heart too, because that's a muscle. So we need to feed our muscle. And so another thing, when we talk about exercise, people go and they do weights and they do all these weights. Like, I don't know why I'm not succeeding at this. And sometimes it's because they didn't have enough amino acids from the protein. And it could be vegan protein. It doesn't have to be animal protein. So looking at that and knowing that, and then resting. Even if it is for 5 minutes, if our stress levels go up, guess what? So does our fat. I had a client that gained 7 pounds of fat in 1 week from her stress. Okay. I had another lady who was starving herself to the point where she was barely eating. She had gone up to 310 pounds. And by eating more food, and we did some light therapy as well too, she lost 120 pounds of weight and 98 pounds of pure fat in 9 months. Okay. And she feels great. So we are reversing, right? We're helping. We have to look at things to help people reverse she was obese, and not everybody's obese, but we want to make sure with our children too. We want to teach our children how to eat now so they understand why we're doing it. Just to say, oh, don't have that. No, no, don't have that. It's the reason why, hey, by the way, our pancreas has to work really hard. We have sugar, babe. Why don't we put some protein with it so we can actually stabilize blood sugar? And you go, okay, and how do you feel? Pretty good. Have the one cookie, not two or 10, so keeping that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because today is Halloween when we're, talking this. So
It's true.
there are a lot of candies involved
Yeah.
in Halloween itself.
Yeah.
Either from school, the kids got back from school and they have a bag of candy. We're probably going to get some candies later at the ice rink when my son goes for hockey. So it's kind of having the understanding of, like you said, body composition, but more importantly, what type of food like your body needs,
Yeah.
but also important as well that it's not what your how your body is digesting the food, even if you're eating the food, but how your body is digesting
Yeah.
the food. And it's so interesting, Penny, that you touch about stress and sleep. It's kind of like there's a huge correlation on that people probably don't know why are they not losing weight. One of that, like you were saying, sleep. They didn't have enough sleep that can help their body to rest. So talking about all these important elements in reversing obesity, let's focus on one, which is food. So what are some of the foods that people can eat to create longevity, to create sustainability in their life? That's going to help probably take care of their liver, their heart. That's going to good for them in the long run as well,
Yeah.
and not just for like right now.
Right. So I would say the first thing to look at, and it's overlooked, is looking at the brands that, first of all, because we can have, some crackers. Because I'm going to look at it as we talk about even for families. What being, eating unprocessed foods is really the best, right? If we do fresh fruits and vegetables, raw nuts, because we bake the nuts at a high temperature. We don't know where they're baked. It changes the property of the oil. Okay, so we're looking at nuts, raw nuts. We're looking at a variety of fruits and vegetables. Think of the Mediterranean diet. Okay, and so we look at even a little bit of wine is okay too, with a certain point. Then we get to the point for having too much, then it's not good for your liver, right? So looking at that, and if we look at superfoods, you can add some powder to your drink that has taken all these dried fruits and vegetables and adding all these nutrients together. And so we can really have a variety. But with the food, having the intention when we eat the food, and if we're in a good mood, like we should, look at our food. If we're angry while we're eating, we're probably going to get indigestion, and a lot of times we're in a hurry. And one person said, oh, my doctor said I gained weight because I was standing up. It wasn't because they were standing up. I decided to stand up because I always had to get something. So she was standing there being angry because, so that's what caused her to gain weight, not because she was standing. So if we slow down and even give ourselves, it might be 5 minutes, but at least take a breath and think of nourishing your body. And that, that's what we got to look at, right? Nourishing the body. I'll tell you, back to box food, because it's unavoidable. Sometimes we're traveling and we're at convenience. We have to look at a lot of foods that I thought were great brands, and I'm not going to name any brands, but this granola bar, you know what, at least it's okay. And I look at it and it says bioengineered ingredients. Or you look at genetically modified. There was I'm not going to say again the brand, that people were at their headquarters last week and they were demanding that they change the way they make their food. That's not going to make a difference. That actually just gave them more publicity. What we need to do is look at the labels and decide which ones to buy. And I can assure you, if we stop buying that brand, they will change.
Yeah, that's so interesting, Penny, in the sense that you're talking about even if brands that say organic, right? Labeled organic, labeled healthy, natural. But when you look at the composition or the back label, you start to see what are all these things that are not in alignment of what's organic. Organic can just mean one little itty
Yeah.
bitty thing that they put in, whether it is the
Yeah.
nutritional bar, whether it is cereal. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, Penny, like when I drop off Rehan, my youngest one, he's 3, at his play school, they would serve him breakfast, and I saw one of them is cereal. So cereal is a processed food that has a lot of sugar, and
Mhm.
we don't eat cereal because I don't grow up eating cereal. Back in Malaysia, I grew up eating hot food, so we just don't have cereal. But
Yeah.
it has become like an okay thing to have this different kinds of food that are seemingly healthy, like whole grain, this fiber thing. So how can we bust through that misconception or start making conscious choices with our food that are going to be beneficial for us?
I would say the number one thing is to teach our children to look at the labels. They are learning from us and learning from example. People are used to giving their children Nestle Quick, and it's like the bunny's on there. The marketing's great, and I tell people, and I have yet to do the video, but I will, is like, how do you make it healthier? You dump the chocolate out because it's all sugar, and you put some collagen protein inside, right? And that way you're getting some protein. But I'll tell you, the main thing is educating even from a young age. And I'll just share with you, one of my cousins, her son, when he went to junior high, they had a Shake Shack there, and he gained like 5 pounds within, and on a boy that's 12 years old, 5 pounds in about 2 months and he didn't grow, he got bigger. That's a lot of weight. And I actually I emailed the school board because I didn't know who to talk, and I said, can I please come in there and help you tweak things pro bono, just to do it. And I got a not nice letter back from the principal and say they have a choice to bring stuff if they want. But they were serving these children shakes and a full size muffin from Costco, right, for a snack after school. And it's like, it's okay to have a muffin, but have a small one and teach the kids, if you have this, guess what, your pancreas is going to have to work harder and you get diabetes, right? And so we're looking at shifting as to, sometimes, like, what is, like, my son, when he was getting heavier when he was younger, I said, let's go for a walk, right? Let's
Mhm.
go for a walk together as a family. It's good for all of us. Instead of the 5 cookies, you'll have 2 little cookies. And I taught him moderation. And I think when we tell children to, no, you can't have that, no, you, or an adult, they're more prone to have it. So let's modify it so it's healthier way for them.
Great insights about teaching the kids, or at least teaching ourselves as adults, to kind of an understanding about the label, what's in it. And you also touch base about let's eat more, what do you call it, like organic, not organic, but whole foods that are not so much of being processed.
Yeah.
You told said about the nuts being baked and it just loses the composition and
Yeah.
the natural oils that it has. And you also touch base about the Mediterranean diet. Can you just give us an overview about what Mediterranean diet looks like?
Yeah, so it has fish and nuts and different seafood, and olive oil, right? They use a lot of olive oil, and extra virgin olive oil is one of them, and then also, like, so and fruits and the vegetables, and that's really where they're not eating a lot of our meat here too. Like, they do eat meat in some of the countries, they do, but not as often. But if we're going to have the meat, should be grass fed, right? And
Right.
and because when the antibiotics go into the animals, it goes into us as well. It's in that meat. And so we need to look at natural farmers and just really getting legumes, so beans. But also, when we look at the diet, we have to look at, again, the macronutrients, because if you ate a whole bunch of beans and just a little bit of vegetables, you're getting too many carbs. Even though they're good for us, we're getting too much. So again, going back to body composition and getting your analysis of your macronutrients, your protein, carbs, and your fats. But that's really what it entails, is really the olive oil, the fruits, the vegetables, all fresh. And then, even with the and the nuts, and then really they sleep. Part of their lifestyle, we have to talk about diet, is lifestyle, which is sleep too,
Yeah,
and
that's,
naps.
speaking of olive oil, right? I remember, like, my husband and I, we visited Italy. This was like years ago when we were staying in England. And part of our visit there, we went to like an olive oil factory. It's like a family owned olive oil, like, there was like olive trees everywhere. And we met kind of like the owner, and I asked, okay, so what do you use this olive oil for? Do you just use it for this, or do you just use it for? I was told that we don't fry with olive oil, we just do like drizzle a bit. And he was like, we use olive oil for everything. Like, it's kind of like it's, I guess it's their way of life. They grew up with olive oil. So I'm glad that you're kind of like sharing us a vision of the Mediterranean diet that consists of seafood and fish and beans and nuts and vegetables, and fruit. So it's kind of like a variety of things. I mean, I'm assuming you don't have to eat all of that at the same time, but at the very least, spread it out throughout the day.
Yeah.
Too, because I personally couldn't eat like all seven different types of food at one
No, but I
time.
think that what we need to look at is macronutrients. So for like our carbohydrates,
Mm-hmm.
protein, and vegetables and healthy fats together, it
Mm-hmm.
really does balance the thing is if we have carbs on their own, especially if it's
Yes.
sugar, right? Then it can be actually shown it's more addictive than cocaine. And so that people crave it more and they wonder why they can't stop. But I'll share some about olive oil. We still, it actually, even though they've actually changed a little bit in Europe. My family actually has olive trees in Greece, and we have lots of olives, and but and we they make olive oil out of that. But the thing is it's not a high temperature oil, so I don't recommend frying with it. I recommend with like avocado oil is a high heat oil was usually what I recommend. Um, Coconut oil is also high heat oil, but it is very high in saturated fat, so we do need to limit our saturated fats for heart health. So, but there's one thing I want to share about the olive oil in Europe. They bottle separately for Europe, and they bottle another way for America. Okay, because our country allows about 20% of another oil to be in it and still called extra virgin olive oil. So we really need to do our research. So California olive oil is pure, and I'm Greek and I love our olive oil, but it's a little bit different when it's imported here. I just tell people watch your brands. That's all. Okay.
Beautiful. Like, again, just be mindful and read the label of,
Yeah.
the source of where your food comes from.
Yeah.
Okay, Penny, let's kind of like wind down to what are the biggest mistakes that people make as they are taking the step towards their health and wellness, and on the path of either reversing obesity or trying to get back on the health and wellness path.
So one of the things is that they'll hop on a trend, and they're not looking to see if it's right for them. And so again, getting your body composition done with something like an InBody 570 or Evolve, they're FDA approved devices. So you actually see that you need 1800 or 1500 or 1200 or 1600, depends on your muscle, because if you eat less than what you're supposed to, you will store fat. Okay. And when you're looking again, body composition important, because as you're losing weight, if you're gaining muscle, you could actually lose, I'm going to show you here, a pound of fat, but you just drank some water and now you weigh the same. And so we can see beyond our body on the outside and see what's happening, and looking at really achieving our goals instead of just giving up. So people will do these fad diets and they lose weight really fast and then they gain it back, they lose weight. And so if you track your body composition and you see that this is working for me, continue it. And any style of eating is fine as long as we look at the numbers inside. And that's what I do. So I have a very high success rate here in the office because we're looking at each individual person. Okay. And really, I'll tell you, I have, my clients have food scales. Look at your measuring cups. So important. Because we're looking at, again, the vegetables. Like if you ate 10 cups of broccoli, wouldn't make a difference. If you ate 10 cups of rice, guess what? Your pancreas is, people say, oh, I'm going to gain weight. Well, that's part of it, but your pancreas has to work super hard to produce more insulin. And that's how we start getting diabetes, because our pancreas starts slowing down. and it's slowing down and slowing down. Type 1 is different. That's an autoimmune, it just, that's different, stops working completely when someone's a teenager or a young adult. Totally different.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So, before we wind down the interview, so quickly share, Penny, on where you are now. I mean, what made you where you are now as a nutritionist? Kind of what started you on this path and where you are now, and in terms of, serving your clients in Orange County.
So about 15 years ago, I was very sick. I went to so many different doctors. I had pain in my abdomen, agonizing pain actually, all day long in my stomach. And I was dizzy sometimes. I couldn't drive my kids to school. I couldn't figure out why I would be walking across the room and I couldn't even stand. I had to sit down or I'd have to pull over. I stopped driving the freeway with my children. And I had really bad indigestion. And we did all kinds of scans and spent so much money trying to figure it out. And so I'll just share with you, one day I sat on my bathroom floor with sweat pouring on my body in agonizing pain. And I asked God to help me be normal again. And I promised him I would help as many people as I can, which I get to do daily. And 2 days after that, I was directed to a place. A friend of mine who was a registered nurse said, go to this place in Redlands. They do food sensitivity testing. Maybe they can help you with your food sensitivities. That's all I was hoped for. And when they tested me, my top 3 foods were black tea, bananas, and strawberries. And I was putting strawberries in my protein shake every day to be healthy. But if you overconsume a food, you can become sensitive. When I cut out the strawberries, I had no more intestinal pain. When I cut out the bananas, I didn't get dizzy anymore. And I went back to coffee instead of black tea. And I had no more indigestion. I got my life back. So through the years, I was like, what am I going to do? So I decided to go to school, become a nutritionist. I also became a health coach and a life coach. So I could put a whole program together because one part, I had started working out when I was 16. And again, through the years, I would see people doing great, right? And I'm like, you're progressing. Nope, it's not working. And so the 2 machines I first invested in when I first opened my first office in Newport 8 years ago was a body composition analysis and the food sensitivity scanner, because those were so important. And so getting rid of indigestion so you can digest your food is important. And then also with knowing your numbers so you're not struggling. And that way, no matter what style of eating, it takes the guesswork away. And so that's kind of where my direction was. I wanted people to have a place where we could figure things out. And then I have a great network around me as to, I'd send them to the doctor where they need to go, or to the chiropractor, or to another area, so we have a complete system here.
Wonderful. Who'd have thought, right? Strawberries, banana, and black tea. That was kind of like, which are good foods. That, if you think about it, which are good foods. But who would have thought those are the things that kind of like triggered your episode health challenges? So thank you so much for your wisdom, Penny. Thank you so much for sharing us about the daily actionable steps that people can do to start reversing obesity and get their health back on track. So let's wrap up with this. Health and wellness is fill in the blanks, Penny.
Health and wellness is, oh my gosh, it's just as important as your wealth, because without your health, you have no wealth. I mean, you're actually going to spend all of your wealth trying to get healthy again. So it's very important to look at your health and wellness. And that way, even if you live a long time, if you're not healthy, what's the point if you're sitting in bed and can't move?
Absolutely. So, like, health and wellness is your entire living essence. Because if you don't have the health, there's not much else to life. Because that's like the pillars of everything that you do. So, thank you so much, Penny, for sharing that with us. And what's the best way for people to connect with you, Penny?
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Foskaris Wellness. And also we have a YouTube channel as well under Foskaris Wellness. And then I think you put the QR code up there. They can also click on that too as well. So we're in Anaheim Hills, California. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Penny, and everybody. So, really, really great tips from Penny. Make sure that you know what you are eating in terms of your body composition. Make sure that you understand the labels or the food that you put into your body. and have a good sleep. That is like mostly underrated. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Penny, for sharing your wisdom and tips. Until the next episode, this is your host, Dr. Izdihar Jamil. Remember, be brave and be open to endless possibilities. See you in the next episode. Take care. May peace be upon you. Let's say bye, Penny.